Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Healthy Kids Revolution, continuation of all this wonderful information that you parents are now getting and hopefully figuring out how to feed your kids healthier. It is a great pleasure of mine to introduce someone that I know personally, Dr. Patrick Flynn. He is incredibly brilliant, and I hate to brag on him so much, but he is going to overwhelm you with what he knows about functional medicine. He is a highly sought-after national speaker. He's an author, and he truly is on the leading frontier of revolutionizing healthcare with his clinics that he has across the country. So, Dr. Flynn, welcome to the Healthy Kids Revolution, and thanks for sharing your time with us.
Oh, Carmen, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here, and there's nothing I love more than just sharing information that can change children's lives.
Well, you're going to get to do that. So, without further ado, you're going to present some superfoods to us, and we have gone over cell structure. So, most of the people who have listened to the different speakers, and especially myself, having taught the cell structure, they're going to sort of get what you're saying about why these foods are important. So, I would love to hear, and I'm sure the audience would love to hear exactly what you're going to share with us today.
Oh, fantastic. What we'll do, guys, is we're going to go through a lot of intense material today, and I'm going to wrap it all up in the end. So as we go through stuff, Carmen, as you go through questions and everything, like I said, to interject in there, and I promise you, for example, I'm going to go through great detail to give you guys some good practical use, because the one thing I think sometimes in healthcare, which is very disturbing, is the fact that we give people great information, but sometimes we talk too much like a doctor. So we want to be able to take everything that we can take home right away, that we can apply tomorrow morning, which can help our children that way. So why don't we go over my background just for a quick second and who I am. For example, I'm a naturopathic doctor. I'm also a chiropractor. I've been doing this for about 13 years, and as you said, I started what I call my Wellness Way clinics. We own clinics all across the country. And one of the greatest things that we've developed in putting superfoods, super herbs, medicinal mushrooms in practice, we've created very unique clinics that way. And so I've been blessed to be able to consult with all professionals, medical doctors, chiropractors, DOs, naturopaths, nutritionists, every one of them, and it's been fantastic. And it gave me a great audience to speak to, because moms want to know more, dads want to know more, actually the extreme sick do. I've been on a ton of TV shows and radio shows, something as great as this. And the funny part about my whole practice, two of the biggest things I actually deal with are female hormone problems and then psychiatric problems, especially with children. And people don't realize what they can do with superfoods to change that. That's exciting.
And you're going to tell us, so this is so exciting.
Yes, it is. Because sometimes, as you know, having children, sometimes we don't realize that there's superfoods, super herbs, all those things that we can do on a daily basis that can keep us from those psychiatric drugs, that can keep us from female hormone problems. We have even young ladies that are going to become young women. What can they be doing superfood-wise on a daily basis? Because I think sometimes, even being a naturopathic doctor, everybody wants to take a supplement. Everybody wants to do these things. I don't believe in that. I believe that, yes, those things can help us repair, but our superfoods are where it's at and what we can do on a daily basis to keep us healthy, so we don't need doctors like me. So as you can see on my bio here, I consult for 2 psychiatric hospitals, and they want this. I mean, the sad part is this. With all these things going on out there, people want a different answer, and that's one big thing we're going to cover tonight. So that's what I said. Our big topic tonight, Carmen, understanding superfoods and medicinal herbs. And it's really a pathway. I always like to give people a roadmap. Carmen, have you ever searched in healthcare and kind of been, led down the wrong road?
Oh, I think half of the audience was going to raise their hand and go, absolutely, that's why we're on the call.
Exactly. So what I want to do tonight is kind of create that roadmap, give you some great steps to do that are life-changing, that are applied tomorrow. Because as you can see on the slide that way, we want to take a right turn. A lot of people don't know this, and if they don't understand certain things, by nature, they're carved years left, okay? And we're going to get these people to actually make the right choices, because that's the big thing. To go right or left is a choice. And people say, well, wait, doc, are you telling me I can choose health or disease? Yes, you can. And it starts very simple, and it starts with even the most basic, simple analogy. Now, the next slide, guys, that I put up, if you can understand the next slide when I put it up, you're going to be able to understand healthcare in a very different realm. And here it is. Now you say, doc, oh my goodness, what the heck? You show me a plant, okay? Well, what I want you guys to think about is this. Let's say that we see this plant, and now it starts to wilt. Carmen, let me ask you a question. If you see a wilting plant, what's your first thought process?
It needs water.
But then why didn't you say it needs drugs or surgery? It doesn't even sound right, does it? It makes no sense. So when we look at our children and they may be going through what? We want to raise a healthy plant. Okay, let's treat them like a plant. We need to find out what their body needs. See, when you ask the dumb question saying, why didn't you give it a medication or why didn't you cut off the limbs, the leaves, it sounds actually it doesn't sound too smart. You're saying, but that's when we look at a sick child that's suffering through things and suffering through ailments, suffering through psychiatric problems, suffering through colic. It's like, well, what are we going to give them? Well, I ask a different question. What does that child need? What does that plant need? Now here's a question for you, Carmen, though. If you give that water and the plant doesn't stop wilting, is water not good for plants? Well, see, once again, another dumb question. See, you go, no, it may need sunlight. Maybe somebody's poisoning the water. So when we look at superfoods and super herbs, we can figure out, for example, what a child needs, and it goes back to my premise, for example, that I treat everybody with. And it's the model for all my clinics, it's the model when I teach, and our model is very simple as this. We don't guess, we test. So the neat part is I'm going to teach you superfoods and what can happen that way, but guess what? There's specific testing you can figure out of what your child needs, and that's the cool part.
Oh,
so,
that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah, and so what we're going to do is this. I want to kind of define things a little bit more, because a lot of people say, Doc, well, what the heck is a superfood? What does it really mean? What's a medicinal herb? Well, I want you to think of just actually look at a basic apple, okay? When you look at an apple, that is a food. It has micronutrients. It has vitamins and minerals in there. It's basically a food. It's what our body needs for just some certain building blocks. Now, a superfood is both a food but also medicinal properties, which means, for example, they cause biochemical reactions. Okay? Now, that's the difference. That's why, for example, an apple and a superfood have two totally different properties. We definitely need foods. But let's say, for example, that we want to create a biochemical reaction, that we want to see growth in a certain area. They're actually more dense. They have a bigger immunological immune response. They have a bigger hormonal response. And if we can start to put these superfoods within our body, guess what? Now we get these reactions. Now if we need a healing effect, that's where our medicinal herbs. So if we look at a graph of priority, it looks at what? We go from foods, which are essential to giving us are what we need. But if we have some wilting leaves like the plant did, now we may need some superfoods or medicinal herbs to actually start for that to heal. Now, Carmen, do you follow me on that? Okay.
Absolutely follow. Mm-hmm.
So I don't want people to get confused between what a food is, because that gives us our basic building blocks. That's what when we ask the plant, what does the plant need? Now, the next slide, I think, appeals to everybody. I think especially, Carmen, this will actually appeal to you, because there's a lot of, understanding about foods and what we go through that way and why we choose certain foods we do, okay? For example, years ago, I had the TV station come out and interview me because I started to teach a little different when it came to nutrition. Like I said, that's my background. That's my education. And I never liked the USA Food Pyramid. Actually, it was kind of funny that when they interviewed me, that they said, "Well, Doc, you speak against the USA Food Pyramid." I said, "Absolutely, I do, because if you eat like the food pyramid, you're eventually going to look like the food pyramid." Because
bottom heavy.
Exactly. They're telling people eat 7 to 10 servings of grains, which, for example, are going to spike our insulin levels, cause us to have some diabetic aspects that way, and we're going to get very large. But here's what happens, but it doesn't really show, for example, what we're really going through and why we choose what we do for foods. Because the one thing is, when you talk about foods and healthy foods, people have this misconception. So my next slide is very important. It's very important to everybody, and it relates to our children. As you can see right here, now I want you to think about it. Food is more of an emotional aspect ever as a physical thing. We don't ask, our children don't say, "Mom, I need this," okay? Kids, just like everybody else, they eat emotionally. Now, Carmen, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been under stress before?
I'm under stress right now. Don't we live in a constant state of stress? I think we do.
We do, and as wonderful as a person you are, and as educated, and as your movement is to change children's life, but I even guarantee, when you go through a stressful situation, do you crave an organic chocolate, or do you crave an organic salad, or do you crave chocolate?
Oh, the Hershey Kisses are abundant in my house.
Thank you. See, and I'm going to show you
I know, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. See, so I want you to understand. So when we appeal to these kids, What if I told you by the end of this talk here, Carmen, that I'm going to be able to show you how to use superfoods that can create an emotional response to balance hormones, to give you that satisfaction, but actually give you all the things that you need, just like that plant needed. And that's what we want to focus on. Yeah, exactly. And I do have a gift for everybody, and that's the great part. Now, here what happens, because most people, when I talk about superfoods, they think this. Now, the funny part is, this is not a joke. That's a beautiful picture of my kitty, okay? Now, of course, the thing is kind of funny when we look at it, because most people, when you think about eating healthy and eating the things that we do, are like, oh, stupid diet. No. Because if you don't know how to use superfoods in the forms that we need to do, and that's what I want you guys, you parents are listening to this, you can take these superfoods, these medicinal herbs, and make the most incredible things. And we go back to my thing, even when I asked you, Carmen, when we get stressed or we desire something, we don't desire, like the cat does, that salad. We desire chocolate. But what if I told you that everything we're going to talk about tonight, I'm going to turn into a dessert? And then at the end, whoever wants, Carmen, I'm going to give everybody a free e-dessert book. And that's the great part. So I'll show you how to all wrap it up at the end that way.
Okay.
Now, so let's go into this. Let's go into some of the things that are essential for us to really understand things that go on with superfoods that way. We know that they have medicinal properties. We know that they actually are more dense. We know they have greater nutrients that way. And we don't want to be stuck in that diet, okay? So I have a question for you, Carmen. Let me ask you a question. When I first asked you this, or we even asked the parents that are listening to this thing, you know, are sugars good for us?
Oh, we like them because they're emotionally satisfying, but physiologically they're not good for us, right?
Well, see, that's the confusion. See, one thing that we really understand, just even basic foods or nutrition, there's things called, would you agree with me, there's things called essential nutrition. There's essential polysaccharides, which are essential sugars. There's essential fatty acids. And there's, you know, for example, there's essential proteins. So what I want to show you this is sugars are essential for us. And what I'm going to do this next year is I'm going to list you all the essential sugars. What's number one, Carmen? What's number one?
Glucose.
You can't live without it. You can't. Your brain runs off of glucose. It's very essential. So parents, I want you to think about this. By nature, your body is always going to crave sugar. I have patients that come in every day and say, Doc, you know, how can you help me get rid of my craving for sugar? I said, well, guess what? You're going to have to die. And they look at me. I'm like, it will never go away. It's an essential. And the essential, and you understand what essential means. It means your body can't make it, so you have to eat it. Okay? Let me say that again, parents.
Right.
Essential means your body can't make it, so you have to eat it. Have you ever seen a lion on TV chew on an orange? No, because they can make their own vitamin C. We can't, so we have to ingest it. That's why they're called essential. So a sugar, for example, in term medically is called a polysaccharide. Who cares? Just think essential sugar. These are some of the 8 essential sugars we need. Now, I want to just read them to you really quickly that way, because as I read the names, I want you to see if you get a relationship to some things you may have heard of before. Glucose, xylitol, galactose, fructose, mannose, N-acetylgalactosamine, N-acetylglucosamine. Okay? Now I want to stop at that one. Okay? As I explained to you guys before, one of my doctorates is I'm a chiropractor. Now, let me ask you a question, Carmen. When I say N-acetylglucosamine, what pops into your head right away of that name?
The glucosamine.
And what's
I've heard that
good
a lot.
Yeah, and what's that good for?
Oh gosh, you're gonna stump me.
Yeah, no. Oh, well,
why do we need glucosamine?
Yeah, and I want everybody to understand this. I want every listener to understand this. Glucosamine, for example, is known. They've extracted this sugar from food sources, from superfood sources, and glucosamine is good for our joints. Do you follow me?
Chondroitin and arthritis. Now I remember the commercial.
Thank you.
Is that right?
So
Okay.
here's what happens, guys. You're 100% right, Carmen. Now, I want you to think of it this way. Why would you go out and buy a glucosamine supplement when we can actually eat superfoods that have it in? And let me say a question. How old do you want to be to start eating things that are good for your joints, Carmen? Well, that's a dumb question. You say, Doc, as early as you can get in food, okay? So that's my point. See, we don't realize that when maybe as a chiropractor, if a person's joint is bad, do you ever think that maybe we can ask, what does that joint need? And we find out that they're not eating essential sugars. So if we don't get good sugars, we can't even rebuild our joints. I'll bet you no one's ever told you that. You want to build your joints, you got to eat sugars.
No. Never heard that.
Yeah, but if you look at the structure of that joint, it rebuilds from those essential sugars that way. Okay? Now, one thing that I want you to picture is this. There's one food source there's one food source that has all of those 8 essential sugars. Could you give me a guess there, Carmen? And all you guys out there listening to this, give me a guess. What do you think it is?
It has all of those in it.
Yes.
It's natural?
Yep.
It's natural?
Yep.
Just your regular table sugar?
Nope, it's called breast milk.
And the breast milk, okay.
Now, as a nutritionist, Carmen, as a doctor that I am, what's one of the first questions we should always ask our patients or ask people, clients that we take care of? Were you breastfed? And I say, well, Doc, why is that so important? Yeah, if I have a person that's 85 years old, my first question to him is are you breastfed? Now, were you? Now, the question is not are you. Were you breastfed? 5 years you're still breastfed, we have the problems to talk about. But the point is this, were you breastfed? You say, Doc, why the heck would you ask an 85-year-old person that? Because I want to know how long their plant has not gotten what it needed to grow. Do you follow me?
Gotcha.
If you start off getting bottled, processed, homogenized, chemicalized, carbonized, chalkized, all those aspects of those formulas that way, and you didn't get your essentials to build, we wonder why kids are not growing. We wonder why they're not growing mentally, physically. We wonder why their plant is rotting when they don't even have their essentials to build. Okay?
You're getting those multiple ear infections and tonsils having to be removed. Is all of that associated with that as well?
Well, I'm happy you brought that up. Because let me ask you a question, Carmen. What does our immune system run off of? Sugars. Our immune system runs off of what? Essential sugars. So if we eat processed Captain Crunch, or we eat some of the superfoods that we're going to build up to you just here in a couple seconds here, what do you think it's going to do to our immune system? You either can eat superfoods and super herbs that actually build our immune system, or we can eat processed, non-essential sugars that damage our immune system. See, so there's much a greater aspect of it. So, Doc, what foods, what kind of things can we start to put in now? You got me intrigued. We got to do those sugars. Well, I want you to look at number 2 here. Look at xylose. Why does xylose sound so familiar there? Because why?
Xylitol.
Thank you very much. Xylitol.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. Now you say, Doc, wait, why are you showing us a bunch of birch trees? Because if you look, xylitol comes from birch. Now, that's very important because we're going to cover superfoods and super herbs, and my most important medicinal herb on the planet I'm going to be explaining to you in less than a minute, okay? But let's look at xylose, okay? It's converted to xylitol, okay? It's one of your sugar substitutes. It's great for diabetic parents. Guess what? It's antifungal and antibacterial. If you go on, and I'm going to show you this in a second, but if you have strep throat, one of the number 1 treatments for strep throat that can actually get rid of a strep throat within a very short time is teaspoons of xylitol until it goes away. Instantaneous. Yes, it's absolutely fantastic. Because why? Not only is it essential food that you're getting, and you're getting one of your essential sugars, but guess what? The bacteria love it. So when you swallow that, guess what? It jumps off and it clears that strep throat up really well. Also choosing, exactly. If you look at xylitol, it's also absorbed in the small intestine and it helps feed the normal flora. It makes your nutrients more absorbed. It's amazing. Best sweeteners that we can have. So if I'm your doctor, guess what? I want you to eat sugar. I want you to eat sugar. You understand? Because why? We understand if we have the right source of this superfood, guess what happens? We can now build what? We can even build your teeth. Who said so? Why do you think most of your dentists now tell people to actually get xylitol treatments? Forget fluoride treatments. Get xylitol treatments. Second of all, what does your toothpaste and everything have in your mouthwash have in it now?
Xylitol.
Yep. Now, here's one thing. A lot of people have heard this because I preach this. They're like, this is way out there, Doc. Must be your information. Carmen, have you ever seen the the website called WebMD?
Absolutely.
It's the number 1 hit medical website out there in the world. Well, let's look at our next slide. So let's look at xylitol. Now, I'm just going to read it to you, and I'm actually going to highlight this area right here. But it says, hey, listen, it says xylitol right here. I'm going to highlight this really quickly. Xylitol is naturally occurring alcohol found in most plant material, including many fruits and vegetables. But here, Carmen, could you do me a favor? Can you read this sentence right here that I highlighted?
From birch wood to make medicine?
Wait, say that again. It's extracted
from birch wood to make medicine.
Yes. So guess what? You now went from a superfood to a super herb, which now is a medicine. Our foods are a medicine, guys. And here, the great part is, look at this next slide. It's used to treat, it's the number 1 way to treat inner ear infections. So parents out there, I guarantee parents out there that guess what? You've probably experienced this. Well, what if I told you that when your child starts to introduce foods to them, that you could put this superfood, they're going to eat it? Why? Why, Carmen, why are they going to eat this thing? Why are they going to eat
it? Because it tastes good.
It tastes good. It's sweet. It's all these great things. And guess what? The kids are going to go, Mom, give it to me. Give it to me. See, we think that just like my kitty up there, stupid diet, him chewing on a leaf. No. When you actually understand superfoods and what they do, these kids will run to them, okay?
Wow.
But if you look, here's all your medical references. See, a lot of people always say this, well, doc, this is your information. No. I don't give you opinions. Carmen, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I have an analogy about opinions. I call opinions very similar to butts. We all have them and they all stink, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want an opinion. I will give you all reference stuff. One of my analogies that I like to say to people, when people give you opinions, always say this to them. Doc, where did you read that? Can I have a copy? Doc, where did you read that? Can I have a copy? Well, I like to give you your copy. Okay?
There's your copy, folks, right there.
Absolutely. Now, it gets better because remember you said actually, for example, that you can actually, from birch wood, you can get medicine. How is that possible? Well, there's some birch. Let me see a question there, Carmen. What the heck is growing off of there?
Ah, lovely mushrooms.
Thank you. Now, let me give you a concept because we're going to cover medicinal mushrooms. I'm going to show you the massive effect of these things because medicinal mushrooms are a superfood. Now, when you think, people think mushrooms, they think the mushrooms that grow out of the ground actually you can put on your pizza. No. Those are button mushrooms. When you look at medicinal mushrooms, guess what? Medicinal mushrooms grow off of trees. Okay? So you see those medicinal mushrooms growing off you. Those, for example, extract some of the nutrients to produce those medicines. Now, for example, here, I'm going to define them a little bit. Once again, there's that big word. They contain polysaccharides. Let me ask you a question, Carmen. What's the polysaccharide again? It's a medical term for what?
Multiple sugar?
That's right, sugars. Okay?
Sugar.
There's your medical words, your beta-glucans, your betulinic acid, your tryptophans. Now, here's one thing. They're premier adaptogens. They help our body deal with stress. They reduce the workload of our immune system. Why? Because the polysaccharides actually help our immune system. Here's the cool part. Each polysaccharide matches up with a specific type of our cell of our immune system, and each promote a different response. So when I'm actually doctoring a kid, and if I see white blood cells low, guess what? I know exactly what medicinal mushroom, medicinal herb, medicinal food to give them to actually give what their body needs to build it up. That's cool. That's true medicine right there.
That is. That's Hippocrates. He's on the phone. Hippocrates got on our phone. Good job.
It's getting better. It's getting better. Here we go. So here's what happens. So you see these. Now the great part is this. Remember I told you about? Remember, Doc, this is your opinion. Doc, where did you read that? Can I have a copy? So just for today, I happen to pull a beautiful, let's look at this title right here, guys. Birch bark extract, betulinic acid. Inhibits what, Carmen?
Prostate cancer growth.
Whoa, Dr. Flynn, come on now. You're telling me that xylitol, that medicinal mushroom, if it's ingested as a superfood on a daily basis, can help prevent cancer? Yeah, who said so? National Institute of Health. This study was done just recently, a year and a half ago, at Texas A&M University. Okay? And it shows that by ingesting betulinic acid that comes from those medicinal mushrooms, inhibits prostate growth. Okay? So therefore what happens is, but if we can let's get it out of our healthcare system today. And I say, well, what do you mean? I don't like our healthcare system today. See, and I always give the example of this. I call them the fire department. If you have a fire, the best people to handle it, they have tools and technology. But you had to have a fire. And when they come there to destroy your house, to put out the fire. But the bad part is this, you're left with a rotten house. Okay? And my job, I would say I'm a carpenter. I know how to rebuild the house. But guess what? Fires are preventable. So instead of taking medicinal foods, medicinal herbs, and doing all the superfoods and super herbs to treat them like a medicine, why don't we, since our plants grow our whole life, why don't we start feeding that plant what it needs at a very young age? Then, Carmen, let me see a question. What's the chance of getting cancer then? It's a different process. Let's keep the house good. Let's keep the plant growing. Do you follow me?
Right.
So when I look at these medicinal things and I pull up this research, don't let's sit there and go, oh, John has prostate cancer, let's give him some medicinal mushrooms. No, let's get to Johnny's grandson and start giving the stuff so he doesn't get prostate cancer, okay? Now, that's a different form. So when you look at this, here's a really cool part. Let's look at our next slide. This is called, that mushroom right there, it's called reishi mushroom. There's my source, WebMD. I'm going to highlight this. Carmen, I need you to read this for me. Young lady. Right here. In combination of other herbs, reishi mushroom is used to treat what?
Prostate cancer.
Whoa. Hold on. Carmen, you're really telling me that there's references out there that these medicinal superfoods can even treat cancer? Is that Dr. Flynn, does it say up on the top left there?
That's what WebMD is telling us.
Thank you. And if we look at here, talk about what? Getting rid of here, look at this. Reishi mushroom used to boost the immune system, gets rid of viral infections, asthma, high blood pressure, cancer, kidney disease, HIV. Who said so? Not me. Do you follow me? That's one thing. We don't realize that we get chemotherapy drugs from medicinal mushrooms. We get antibiotics from medicinal mushrooms. All things start off as a superfood, super herb, or, for example, into a medicine, into a chemical medicine. Isn't that sad? If we can actually start to put these superfoods on a regular basis, and I say, Doc, you really think you're going to get my kids to eat a medicinal mushroom? Well, I'll show you how. Remember, always remember this, Carmen, food's more emotional than physical, so what do we want to turn into? We want to turn into a dessert, okay? Now, see, for example, there's even products out there. Now, remember, these are products that I use. You can get reishi mushroom, but once again, it doesn't taste that good, so we're going to put it into the food. But here, let's pull some more research for you. Cancer, reishi mushroom, Gendora, that's the medical term for it, inhibits cancer growth, okay, and inflammatory breast disease. The reason why I pulled up the female aspect, because sometimes we sit there and go, hey, listen, wait, that's all about prostate. No. It actually even affects breast cancer. Because of why? These things affect the immune system in a very positive way. Now, another good thing, reishi is in cancer treatment. Why am I bringing it up there? One thing that was very sad, Carmen, I've been really getting a lot of tumors. I've been really getting a lot of brain tumors in children coming to the office on a regular basis now. And it's very sad.
Wow.
It's very sad. Cancers are happening in children more often than none, and we're putting these kids through chemotherapy and radiation. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you what to do as far as cancer treatment, but I'm just saying, listen, at the state of our kids' immune system, why are we getting cancer? What can we start to do to introduce into our kids' foods at a young age that could maybe even inhibit that process? And that's why it's so important. But we have to know about these superfoods. We look at we want the apples, we want the oranges, we want all the great things to give our body some good nutrients and micronutrients and vitamins and minerals. But we have to create those reactions, and that's where it's significant, okay? Now, the neat part is like this. I believe God's produced everything we need. As I told you before, those were found on Birch. Well, actually, I was golfing one day, actually in Lower Michigan, and look what I saw growing on a tree. Look at that reishi mushroom.
Beautiful.
See, God provides. God provides all the medicinal things that we have. It's everywhere. We sometimes don't realize. We think it has to come from a drug company. Guess what? It's already been given to us that way. They're everywhere. I say, well, Doc, one of my other favorite medicinal mushrooms is called chaga. Look at that. There it's on Birch tree. It looks like it's molded. But here's the cool thing. Chaga contains melanin. Let me ask you a question, Carmen. Why is melanin so important?
Well, that's our skin, correct?
Absolutely. Wait. So if melanin is in high doses within chaga, that means what? That means when you actually eat this, you have a really good chance of actually affecting melanoma. It actually, if you eat chaga on a regular basis that way, medicinal mushroom, it'll even make you go a little bit darker skin that way, okay? Because it expresses the melanin. It gives you a protection system that way. Once again, there's great research out there and all the evidence that does that. Now, one other medicinal mushroom, once again, one of the superfoods I want to cover is here. It's called Coriolis. Now, the reason why is this, like I always tell people, we covered a little bit just about cancers and kids' cancers and stuff like that, but I want to show you something on here. Coriolis mushroom is another good tree mushroom that way, another medicinal herb that way, that does a wonderful job of actually helping our immune system. As you can see, if I just see right here, it talks about stimulating the immune system here, it talks about hepatitis, it talks about impetigo, liver disorders, but I really want to read something to you right here. Okay, Coriolis mushroom, I'm going to underline it. It reduces the toxic effects and pain of chemotherapy and radiation therapy.
Wow.
Wait. Let me say it again. It helps in reducing the toxic effects and pain of chemotherapy and radiation therapy, increasing the effectiveness of chemotherapy, prolonging and raising the quality of life of cancer patients, and increasing appetite. Okay, let me ask you a question, Carmen. Do you know anybody that's ever been through cancer treatment?
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Multiple. That's one of the reasons I actually went back to study nutrition, because one of my friends who's an OBGYN had a double mastectomy, and I'm like, wow, cancer is so close to home and we don't even know it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Were they taking Coriolis through the whole treatment?
I don't think so.
Did you get my point?
I didn't. Right. I mean, this is not highly used right now, and hopefully by spreading the message right now and getting people more familiar with this, we can go back to a time and when we used to use these things and eat and partake of what was provided in the bounty of our world. Obviously, we've gotten away from that with our fast foods and stuff, so if we can go back to the old way of living and find these great, wonderful foods, I think we're going to really be on to something here.
Absolutely. And guess what? There's so much documented evidence from a scientific viewpoint, but this will never hit mainstream media. It never will. Do you see what I'm saying? Because there's billions of dollars in cancer treatment, immune treatments, therapies, everything like that.
Oh, yeah. Pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah, they're a fraction of the cost. And so what happens is, and guess what? I had a patient the other day, and actually, for example, they actually grabbed me shaga from their trees and brought it in. It was like, that was Christmas in July for me.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Now, once again, I'm not into promoting products with that because, for example, but I'll show you, for example, he said, when you look at shaga, you know, I like shaga. That's why. Look, it has melanin. It binds to radioactive isotopes. That's why it protects your skin against the sun. Now, melanin in shaga reduces skin damage, okay, from sunburns. Now, don't get me wrong. You need sun. You need sun almost on a daily basis. You want to get as high as vitamin D levels as possible. But here's what happens, is if you don't manage your skin well, or if you lack melanin in your skin, it makes your skin very susceptible to sun damage that way. And also, too, here's the big thing, as you can see here. It reduces the strong oxidative damage from chemotherapy. That's why it protects it so much.
Wow. Well, tell me this, how easy is this to find? Because as someone who has not ventured into the medicinal world of superfoods, I have not really gone there. I mean, I've had a couple of the superfoods at, Earth Fair, but where do we find these particular mushrooms that you're talking about?
Well, they're not found in the city. You just got to find some birch trees in the wilderness. They're very easy. See, that's the thing. We think like that. This is like the pot, the pot at the end of the rainbow. You know what I'm saying? No, they're everywhere. They're provided. It has been given to us. We just have to know what to do. And that's why, for example, I teach patients. I even take patients on medicinal mushroom hunts. Do you see what I'm saying?
Okay.
There's various things. Because like the patient that brought it to me, she learned from us that way. She goes, Doc, I think I got those all over my woods. And she did. And she brought them in to me. I was like, oh, guess what? We're going to make some good medicinal drops out of that. And guess what? You can do the same thing. And that's where it's kind of nice. Nature provides all of our answers. It's there. As I said, that's why they're called superfoods. Now, I love this, though. Even all these mixture of medicinal mushrooms, once again, I love to pull this out because here's what happens. Cancer's all-time high for kids right now. And it's even showed, look at it, actually look at it. It suppresses the growth and invasion of human breast cancer cells. Think about that. It suppresses it. It's absolutely amazing. Now, I can tell people, that's why, for example, there's a ton of products. I don't care what you use. You can get medicinal mushrooms. It's not like you have to go medicinal mushroom hunting like I do. I just love it because I like to get to that root source. But you can buy good medicinal mushrooms that way. Get them. These are not food mushrooms. These are great. That's why they're called medicinal, because they have a major biochemical effect. Now, let's get into some other superfoods that I absolutely love. Now, once again, nature provides. Well, the best superfoods out there, it's honey, bee pollen, bee jelly, bee venom actually is being used a lot. Actually, bee venom itself, the little thing you get when you're stung that way. Beeswax, you know what I'm saying? Wherever they got this aspect that kids can't have honey, I still don't know where they got that from. I swear some of these people just sit in a room, and you ever notice they always tell you, don't have this, yet you can give kids psychiatric medication and chemotherapy and radiation.
Right.
And people believe this stuff. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
Now, so that's such a paradoxical statement. It's just amazing that we could even say a statement like that. Take these drugs and medicines when really we have preventative measures right at our fingertips.
Exactly. It's absolutely amazing. I mean, if you look at bee pollen and stuff like that, products put on wound healing that way. It's absolutely amazing. These are all superfoods that exist in nature, and I know I say that a lot, but the idea is this. See, sometimes we think we have to go to Whole Foods. Sometimes we think we have to have a health food store. Your health food store is out in nature, guys. It's been there, okay? We just have to get back to our roots. We think that sometimes we trust doctors. You say, Doc, you have a great education. You're a naturopath. You're a chiropractor. You got degrees in nutrition. That you're a smart guy. No, I'm going to guide you back to where it actually began and how to actually truly rebuild that plant. Okay. One of my other. So when you look at even sweeteners, so let's wrap the sweetener thing up in general for sugar. So Carmen, I'm going to ask you a question all over again. Are sugars good for us?
Yes, they are. They're essential.
They're essential. And some of those essential polysaccharides, essential sugars, are also medicinal, life-changing, cancer-reducing, immune-building, largely dense nutritional foods. And look at these. Look at xylitol. Now, here's what happens. Food companies are not stupid, guys. Food companies will do everything to get your money. They are now starting to create xylitol out of corn. Do not get corn-based. It's a poison. Okay? Now, if you look at xylitol, raw honey, stevia, maple syrup, what's the next syrup? Birch syrup.
Birch.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's sweet, beautiful. Coconut sugar. Coconut is a wonderful superfood that way, okay? And I have another sweetener on there. It tastes like maple syrup. It's called lucuma. Now you say, Doc, what the heck's lucuma? Let's take a look at it. Oh, before we get lucuma, let's look at our toxic sweeteners, guys. Stay away from those guys. They're all chemicals. They're bad for you. You know, when I did my thesis on for my master's degree, I actually did it on Splenda. It's the most toxic substance on the planet, guys. It's horrible for you. Stay away from it. Now, as I was showing you that sweetener, lucuma, here's lucuma. What does lucuma look like? Looks like an avocado.
An avocado.
Exactly. It actually tastes like maple syrup when you put it in stuff. As you can see, guess what? You can buy it at a store. You know, a lot of people don't realize you can buy it on the internet. You can buy it on Amazon and have it shipped right to your house that way. Because I have a lot of people say, Doc, I live in Wisconsin. I'm up here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. You go north of Green Bay, it's all woods. You know what I'm saying? And it's woods. And you can go miles and miles and miles and miles without seeing any houses and things like that. So, Doc, I live up in North Woods. How do I get it? UPS, FedEx. You know, get it on Amazon. There's great ways of doing that stuff. So, as I said, once again, those are sweeteners. I love covering sweeteners right away because sometimes we think to eat healthy, to have superfoods, to have great medicinal herbs, that we can't have something sweet. It's totally opposite, guys. I want you to have sweets every day, but I want you to have the right kind.
We don't want deprivation, do we? It's not about deprivation, is it?
No, because here's what happens. You can never deprive yourself because your body by nature is geared to actually crave fats and sugar. So don't try to avoid what God instilled in you. Find the right sugars. He created them in nature for you that way. Okay? Remember, food isn't a very emotional thing. It's a very emotional thing. I'm going to show you why you crave chocolate. There's major science behind why you crave chocolate. I'm proving to you tonight scientifically. Now, let's get into some of my other just great superfoods because I could go on for hours on this stuff. I'm wrapping this all in.
You love it. You're excited.
Oh, yes. Well, see, the good thing is this. Tomorrow, no joke, I will spend tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. changing lives in my office and all the doctors I have in my office and all the doctors across the office, across the country about teaching this to people. See, a doctor, for example, is just a learned person that leads person to the right path. Let's choose that health path, not just veer left. Okay? So let's get, for example, one of the other superfoods I absolutely love. Old reliable, aloe vera. Oh, my goodness. Aloe vera, for example, is one of my most favorite plants in the world. Okay? Now, for you moms, now please, I'm truly teaching this patients. I'm not a joke. And yes, this is a G-rated show, but I have to explain this to you. Carmen, let me see a question. Aloe vera should be actually used in three rooms of the house. What is it? The bathroom, the kitchen, and the bedroom. Yep. Those three areas. Okay? Now,
all right. I'm with you.
Exactly. Now let me explain. Well, we got to remember, this superfood, when it's ingested, has many calming, medicinal, healing effects, but it's also good for the skin. And when you need skin to repair at a very quick level, guess what happens? This is one of the best things used topically. I'm not joking with this, but it also is a great lubricant that way. It helps women even post-birth to recover very quickly. So it's a wonderful aspect to produce mucus create that soft tissue even on the skin. You know, like I said, I'm keeping the show G-rated, but guess what? Even vaginally, it's wonderful to actually regenerate that tissue, keep a nice moist skin, recover from trauma of birth and everything like that. And it's a wonderful superfood. It should be used topically and also ingested. Okay. Once again, it has a ton of essential polysaccharides in there. Now, next. Ooh, I love this one. Love this one. Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. It's the green pigments in plants that way. You know, you're going to hear some of the greatest things talking about, you know, chlorophyll with marine phytoplankton, with chlorella, with all these great things. You know, people don't realize, if you look at a hemoglobin, aka a blood molecule, it actually looks like a chlorophyll molecule, except for hemoglobin has the middle is iron. In the middle of chlorophyll, there's magnesium. So if you ingest chlorophyll in your green plants and ingest good iron, that's how you build blood very quickly. So if I have a blood test and a woman comes anemic, I'm not going to give her, you know, some synthetic-based iron. I'm going to fill her body full of chlorophyll and give her the superfoods that have chlorophyll in it, like kelp, like seaweed, all of our leafy greens, our wheatgrass, and also add our iron-based foods in there, and you produce blood results, and you can get red blood cells to jump up very quickly on a blood test. Wonderful way of doing it.
Amazing. We are so wrapped up in the medical, and I don't want doctors on the line to shoot us. I mean, we love our medicine and we need our medicine for very dire cases, but this is so amazing to hear you talk about the plants and the foods that we can eat that actually take care of us where we don't need the pills to be popped. This is just beautiful.
Well, always go back to the analogy. That's why I start with it. How many drugs and surgery do you need to stop that plant from wilting? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. It doesn't. You have to ask, what does the plant need? And see, we've gotten away from that. When I see a woman that comes to me, I guarantee I'm going to have a ton of new patients tomorrow, and these women and these kids are going to come in sick as can be, and they're going to be on a bunch of medications, and they're going to be suffering. You know, the sad part is this. Most of that was brought on by themselves. Whoa, Doc. Whoa, no. My mom, my dad, my family tree has all these problems. Yeah, guess what? Your gene pool did not pass. Your bad habits did. You follow me? Your body knows exactly what this. And so don't give me the fact that it came from your grandma. The only thing that came from your grandma was her bad eating habits, her bad mental state. Do you see what I'm saying? But what happens is, when we start feeding the body what it needs, it's genetically programmed for normal physiology. It's genetically programmed for normal blood pressure, normal blood sugar, normal heart function, normal heartbeat, all these things. We have convinced people that we are genetically programmed for disease. No, we are not. And if you start feeding the body what it is, it will do the right thing. Here's a very bold statement, but take this to heart. Our body never makes mistakes. You do. Your body responds to what you do with it. Okay? So that's why we got to think about that. It's a different way. It's a different way of doctoring that way. And guess what? When we do it this way, who's in control of their health care now? The doctor? No. The person that should be in control of their health care themselves. And that's where it empowers people. Healthcare is made to empower people. Now, I'm going to actually give you one of the greatest explanations and one of the greatest understandings of my favorite superfood on the planet. Nothing beats this. I have a very hard time finding a better superfood than this. And here it is. Hemp. No, Carmen, the hippie, it's marijuana. When people say hemp, THC, no. Hemp is actually a superfood. If you look, it's one of the very few superfoods that have all the essentials. The essential fatty acids, the essential proteins, and the essential sugars, the polysaccharides. Now, question for you, Carmen. Hemp has high amounts of tryptophan. What is tryptophan known for?
Oh, are we supposed to talk about this?
Tryptophan is that
chemotherapy patients?
No. Remember, tryptophan is high in turkey. Okay? So therefore, when high tryptophan, what do people? They get what? They get sleepy. They're very calmed down. Well, you got to remember, hemp has about 1,000 times more. Yeah, exactly. So see, what happens when you look at the whole process of hemp, and you look at tryptophan, it has a very calming effect. Now, let me show you the biochemical pathway and how I can show you that hemp, for example, helps with depression. Okay? If you look, for example, you look at the biochemical pathway right here. Tryptophan, when you eat hemp, converts into 5-HTP, which now converts into serotonin. People don't realize, in order to get melatonin, you have to have serotonin. So if you don't have enough tryptophan, you'll be depressed, but you can't sleep. Which now melatonin converts into DMT, which, for example, gets us into our deep sleep. Now, here's the point. This is how even the natural world, even when I was in naturopathic school, this is how they make the mistake. Well, if I can't sleep, I'm just going to give melatonin. No. Do not do that. And they say, Doc, why not? Anytime you give a downstream hormone, for example, a downstream hormone that is developed from one form to another, and you start taking it, you start shutting off the hormones above. That means if you start taking melatonin for a significant amount of time, it will start to deplete your serotonin levels. So guess what? You may take natural and organic melatonin, and you may sleep, but your serotonins are going to go down, you're going to wake up crabby. Okay? So with that, see, this is where, for example, you cannot start to see they've tried to take the natural world and put it into a medical treatment form. Can't sleep, take melatonin. No. That doesn't make any sense. Why don't you ask, why do you not produce melatonin? If I see a rotting leaf, I just don't try to paint the leaves. I say, why is it rotting? So if I can't sleep, our investigative process is we don't guess, we test. And we can test all these deficiencies. See, one thing that I wish I get into today, and this is what makes us very distinct in our Wellness Way approach, and our office is called the Wellness Way, is remember, I'm showing you superfoods, but what if I could actually tell you I can measure what you're depleted in? There's great diagnostic tests out there. That would be neat. Yes, and guess what? Even your insurance pays for a lot of them. Now, why do I say that? It's the same reason why I put up WebMD and all the other things. There's great medical stuff out there that's never used in healthcare today because guess what? It has no relevance in clinical practice for the medical profession today. But we've taken it, ran with it, and that's why we have such amazing clinics and offer such different care. Because why? Because we want to find out what you need. And see, that's why I love hemp. Hemp should be a regular part of everybody's diet. Why? Because it will start to create some of the biggest things right now and the biggest needs for especially women today. Guess what? The latest study, 7 out of 10 women are taking some form of antidepressant. What if I told you that if I could start to give you some hemp and superfoods and actually start to produce those biochemical pathways, that now you can do what? You're happier, you can sleep better, there's better rest, there's all those things that come about from a basic superfood. That's where we got to go with this process.
I think the hemp's going to start flying off the shelves is what I think when people understand this.
And it should. And it should. You know what's really funny? And Carmen, I say this because I've heard everything already in 14 years of practice. People say, Doc, do you sell hemp? No. Go get it at the grocery store. You know what I'm saying? Start to implement these things. Start to find these things on your daily basis. Okay? Start to put these in our food. Start to put these in our smoothies in the morning. Start to put these in all these things. And guess what? What I tell you that I love to produce? Desserts. Because the food's more emotional than ever is physical. Okay? One of my favorite ones, maca. Okay, maca, once again, has all the essentials, fats, proteins, and carbohydrates, a.k.a. sugars. It helps. It is the building block for all male and female hormones, all of it. It's kind of funny. Being a natural doctor, I get asked to speak at a lot of medical conferences, a lot of them, because what I say to them makes a lot of sense, and they're like, wow, this appeals to them because it gives them different answers. I was teaching on Superfoods, and I was showing the testing of how women's hormones are starting to become more depleted and more all these problems that come about. And all of a sudden, no joke, I was speaking at the largest nursing conference in Wisconsin. So I'm speaking in front of all these nurses. And about 30 rows back, all of a sudden this woman, like shaking her hand like she has to tell me something. And she raised her hand and she goes, my daughter, who's in her early 30s, started to eat maca and her periods went back to normal. Absolutely. Now, let me see a question. How many 10, 11, 12-year-old girls, which is psychotically early of getting their cycle, they get it, and it's really bad. And the best thing they have for those young girls, it doesn't matter if you're 10 or you're 20, what's the best thing they have for women or young ladies if they have a bad cycle? Birth control. Do you follow me in that? Do you think, for example, see, we've accepted female hormone problems like they're normal. I always say to a young lady, you're 16 years old, you're crampy, is it normal? She's like, yeah. I said, no, it's not, it's common. Never confuse common with normal. They don't call it PMN. They call it premenstrual syndrome, not premenstrual normal. So the idea is this. Why does she get it? Do you think maybe she lacks the nutrients and lacks the things for her to produce hormones to balance that cycle? Or are we just going to feed her synthetic hormones that cause infertility, abnormalities, psychiatric problems all down the road? This is what we're giving our young girls. Why aren't we giving the superfoods? That's how you build the body.
Because we need to educate people. Which is what you're doing right now. You're educating us, and the more we educate everyone, the more they're likely to go out and try things because they feel like they have a comfort level with it now. So, march on. I'm loving this.
Well, guess what? Everything I taught you so far is nothing compared to this next slide. This slide right here will change the world. And I believe that this slide has to go to every person on the planet for the main reason of this. And here's the best thing, guys. Here's my most favorite. Bar none. Nothing comes close. Hemp is number 2. Here's bar none, my favorite. Here we go, and here it is. Cacao. Raw chocolate. Guys, cocoa is slang. There's no such thing as cocoa. Cocoa is slang. It's processed cacao. Here's the cool thing is, in history that's been studied for thousands of years, it's known as the food of the gods. It's the number 1 source of magnesium, guys. What does magnesium do to the body? But let me show you scientifically, guys. Let me show you. This is the science behind chocolate. Let me show you why you crave chocolate when you're... I actually made a little error on my slide. Some of the benefits, it says stevia. I'm sorry. It's supposed to say raw cacao. It contains PEA. Wait, what's PEA? PEA is a neurotransmitter. It's even measurable, okay? And so, therefore, what happens when you eat chocolate, it makes you happy. Now, it has epicadamins. Now, what are those? Have you guys ever heard of MAO inhibitor drugs, psychiatric drugs? That's what epicadamins are. So actually, when you eat chocolate, it acts like an antidepressant. But here's the cool thing. Look at this, guys. It contains tryptophan. So therefore, what does it produce? It produces serotonin versus melatonin. But here's the coolest thing directly. It contains tryptamine serotonin. See, when God knew exactly what he was doing, so is the body. If you start to listen to your body and what it needs, when you're stressed, it says, listen, an organic salad does not give me serotonin to actually change my mood, but what does? Raw cacao. Isn't that great? That right there is life-changer. 7 out of 10 women take an antidepressant. Forget that. 7 out of 10 women should be taking raw cacao, chocolate, hemp, all the great things, mix them together, have a great superfood. For example, it could be put into a smoothie, it can be put into a cookie, it can be put into a cake, put in a brownie, you can do all this stuff. But here's the sad part, guys. When you process it, look at that last statement. It's all destroyed in high heat. Oh. So, guys, well, guess what? Your Hershey's bar does not. Your Hershey's Kiss does not count.
Oh, man, you were on top of the cloud. You were like my biggest hero, and I'm sure every woman in the audience is going, we love this man. He just made our night. So,
oh, no. 2 slides from now, I'll make your night. Okay, here we go.
Okay, all right.
Look, here's our raw cacao. How do we get it, guys? We actually can get cocoa beans. We can get cacao nibs. We can get cacao powder, cacao butter, paste, cacao fruit, and actually cacao oil. It's kind of cool. It's actually be slathered over your body. Can you imagine the people and women and everybody walking around soaked in cacao oil, what they smell like? Oh, my goodness. It would be a very... But here's the great thing, guys, is this. As parents, you're going, Doc, this stuff rocks. This stuff is awesome. I love it. How do I do this? But I'm just going to go out and buy some raw cacao. What do? I'm going to go out and buy some hemp. I'm going to go buy some honey. What the heck do I do? Well, my gift to you guys is this. I want to make everything practical, everybody, and I said at the beginning of the talk. We have to make things practical, because if you can't take this information tomorrow and use it, this was a waste of a teleseminar. This has got to be life-changing, implement your life tomorrow. So the cool thing is this, Carmen, with your permission, I'm going to send you an ebook copy of what I call my healthy desserts without the guilt. What if I told you that I could actually create the best recipes on the planet, that nobody has these, that we put these all together, that guess what, that you can have these every day, and guess what, instead of actually causing destruction, immune reductions, cancers, all these things that come about, that you are now eating desserts every single day without that hinder getting bigger, so there's no guilt. That's why I want to give everybody a free ebook that has over 30 recipes with all that stuff in there mixed together.
Oh, my gosh, that is wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I cannot believe that you didn't even tell me you were going to do that. That's a surprise completely.
Yes. And that's for all you guys. It's free. It's my gift to you. And guess what?
Absolutely.
Share it with somebody else. That's it. It's just because if we can get people, the reason why I was so honored to be called this conference, it's a like-minded people that just want to share information to make your life better. There's too much suffering, there's too much dying, there's too much anger, there's too much hate, there's too much all stuff in the world. We got to turn this around. Healing and health is more about than what we eat. It's a connection. Why do you think I teach you about going back to the earth? I'm not a hippie. I love my iPod. I love my technology, stuff like that. But when it comes to what we need, there's a great connection there. And that's why, for example, we got to start collectively coming together. And if I can get your child, for example, to eat something better, guess what? I made a big impact tonight, because we want to be able to see those things go into your body and make that plant grow. I don't want your kid's plant wilting anymore. This is why I give this out to you guys. Now, let me just recap a little bit here. We have those recipes. They're wonderful. I love them. Oh.
I can't wait to try them. I hope I get my ebook like tonight, immediately, and then I'll share it with everyone on the follow-up email, so you guys can dig right in and go make some healthy desserts.
Yes. So let's recap a little bit. Look at our superfoods. Herbs, cacao, hemp, bee pollen, reishi mushroom, coconut products, goji berries, aloe, and I have a bunch of other things. I just wanted to pique your interest and look at just some simple things to do. Like, Carmen, you said this to me before we started. Man, all the information is overwhelming, but you see how simple it really is. And then if you can actually put it into a practical way. And like I said, guys, food is the most emotional thing, with the exception of sex, you'll ever go through. So guess what? If we can actually create the things into desserts that are so emotional, so good, and so tempting that we crave those, and actually making this something that's healthy and not destructive for you, that's the wonderful thing. We can do those things and actually make it so when your kid says, Mom, can I have a cookie? Absolutely, son. Absolutely, my young, beautiful daughters. Because why? It's not going to make you sick. It's going to allow your plant to grow. That's the way we got to think. That's the way healthcare should be. That's the way food should be. It should be a growth process, not a destructive process. I'm sorry if this offends some of you guys. This idea of giving somebody in moderation is the most ridiculous excuse for it lets you do what you want to do. It's either good for you or bad for you. There's no moderation. So we had to create the things that weren't out there. You know what I'm saying? When I started to do this 14 years ago, nobody had this stuff. They're like, well, what do you do? So I had to create the recipes and do the things and put them into clinical practice. That's what happens. As a doctor, yes, I may give you medicinal herbs and medicinal foods and things like that to help you, recover with some of the medicinal things I give. But eventually, we just want to give them superfoods, super herbs, and that's how you stay healthy. So a need for a doctor is not there. I think I tell people, I'm trying to work you out of my office. And every holiday, everybody's working themselves back into my office. Okay? That's where we got to get this message across so people know what to do. Okay? Now, Carmen, I'm sorry if I took too long. A little longer.
You're good. You're good. We left it as a 90-minute because if somebody's on a roll, we certainly don't want to stop and cut it off right in the middle of some great information. So you are fine.
Well, I tried to put this all in an hour, and we got about 55 minutes. So, guys, this is this whole thing. For example, as you can see, the Wellness Way. What it really did is I took all my degrees and put into clinical practice that way. That's all I did. Okay, it's just a very unique way. But there's my motto, guys. There, we don't guess, we test. Okay, it's very essential to find out what each person's body needs. There's no person on this planet that's the same inside. There's no way. I have twins that are so opposite inside, it's scary. You say, Doc, they have the same genetic makeup. Yes, but they don't have the same stressors. They don't have the same trauma. They don't have to come in contact with the same toxicity. We're all different. And where we have to stop, see, people think like natural doctors are more like the hippie dope freak that throws incense on you and rubs you with a bunch of stuff. No, there's a great science behind it when you test these people properly to find out what their body needs and help them and feed that plant. And here's what happens, guys. This is the coolest part that no one teaches you. From the day you are conceived, your body has learned to regenerate and grow to the day you die. And all we have to do is jump on that bandwagon and find out what it needs and watch the miracles happen. That's how you reverse the disease. That's how you live a healthy lifestyle. This whole thing of trying to take everything into like a medical viewpoint of treat this fire, and now what happens is this, they try to do it in the natural world. If you can't sleep, take melatonin. That's ridiculous. I still think that's one of the most ridiculous things. But Doc, I sleep better. Yes, stop taking your melatonin, you still don't sleep better. You got to find out what it needs, and that's a big thing. So that's what we did. We put into clinical practice. We started opening offices all over the country. Busy as can be. It's quite amazing that way, but it's based on one concept. We don't guess, we test. Look at your child. What does your child need? Do you see what I'm saying? That's a big step. Like I said, someday maybe I'll come back and do a show with you just on testing alone to figure out what everybody needs, and that's one of the greatest things. But the whole aspect of superfoods, that's where we want to start. Every day, you can take this stuff and start giving your kids stuff tomorrow to help their plant grow. Carmen, do you have any questions?
No, I just have a comment that when I was looking at your slide about the superfoods, and I just like to take things simple. I'm a very simple person, and as I was looking at your superfood number, the 9 things on the list, I was surprised that there are 6 of them in my household right now. And so just to give an example, there's a wonderful little sandwich that I make for my children. We use the Ezekiel bread, and then I spread some sunflower seed butter on there. It's made out of sunflower seeds, so it's like a peanut butter, but it's made of sunflower seeds. So I spread that on the bread, and then I do the raw cacao nibs, slice up some banana, and put organic shredded coconut on there. And that is a sandwich that sticks to the boys' ribs. I mean, they're 11 and 13. They eat that one sandwich, and they are totally tied over for hours with that. And I just thought, and you could put, we actually use some agave nectar, but, the bee pollen or honey or anything like that to give it a little bit of sweetness. And boom, how many of those do we just use?
Absolutely. It's not that difficult. It's not that difficult. Sometimes we make it too complicated. Health is very...
I was going to say, I want to encourage the moms and dads on the line to don't look at this list and freak out. These things are in Earth Fare. These things are in Whole Foods. I don't even know if they're in like some of the more generic supermarkets that we're used to going to, but the fancier, higher-end places, Trader Joe's, that's a less expensive version, they all have these things. So you just have to start to seek them out, find recipes, and Dr. Flynn's been so amazingly wonderful to give you this free book to do some sweet treat recipes and desserts, and that should kickstart you into wanting to try some of these superfoods and super herbs he's mentioned to us. And the whole goal is we are trying to grow, and it's so great this matches in, Dr. Flynn, with your theory of growing the plant. The tagline for this whole seminar was this whole telesummit was to grow and nurture your children. We are I see them as plants as well, and what we give them, when we give them the good things that their body needs, they will grow and thrive and survive and not be damaged by all the diseases that we see out there. So You've been so generous with your time. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing?
No, just in closing, guys, is very simple. Health is very simple. And like I said, for example, I believe people are unknowingly, because they've been lied to and they've been led down a wrong path, and they've actually been committing oral suicide every day, putting things in their body that knowingly damage, and they say is moderation and things like that. I want to give you a totally different viewpoint on it. I want to tell you right now that some of the best tasting, amazing, healthy things are our superfoods, our super herbs, our medicinal mushrooms, and what you can do and how your health can grow and change. And I don't care right now if you're 95 years old listening to this, you start implementing it, you will live a better life, because you are genetically made to get these into your body so it can do the best it can. So if this is for your 4-year-old or your 94-year-old grandma, guess what? It encompasses everybody, and that's why I want to share this and share it, and take the dessert book and give it to everybody, because that's my gift to the world.
Oh, well, how can we show you some love? Because I feel like you've just given us wonderful information, giving us the free gift, and I'm looking at your last slide, and, you know, what's the best way that we can show you some love? Go to your YouTube. Hello, everybody. I guess we cut Dr. Flynn off on the very last part of his recording. That is the end of the summit. I don't think there was anything else very powerful that was left on the end cap of the conversation with Dr. Flynn. So hopefully you all will see this ebook in the next newsletter that comes out announcing, I think, Aviva Goldfarb and Heather Lounsbury tomorrow on day 8. So as soon as I can get that link to his ebook, you guys will all have that. And then at the end of the summit, I'll also send out a recap of all the gifts from each of the experts so that you have all the gifts in one handy place and you don't have to go back into each particular interview to find out where to get your gifts. So hopefully you all are taking away lots of great information, and be prepared for Heather Lounsbury to come in this evening to talk about her Chinese medicines and some herbs, again following on the heels of Dr. Flynn, but she's going to talk on a more generic level of common spices and whatnot that we have in our cabinets that actually have these healing properties as well. So look forward to you guys on the next call.